Did you know that C.S. Lewis may have linked his Narnia stories to J.R.R. Tolkien's Numenor?
Fans of either author are probably aware that Lewis and Tolkien were friends at Oxford and members of an informal literary club known as the Inklings. Those more familiar with their works will know that Lewis's space trilogy was planned as the result of a bargain with Tolkien, whereby Lewis would write a science fiction story on space travel and Tolkien was to write a science fiction novel on time travel. Tolkien's time travel story, The Lost Road, follows a professor and his son who travel backwards in time through ancestral memories to the island of Numenor where they witness its downfall. The drafts of this novel are Tolkien's first writings on Numenor, his version of the Atlantis myth. Lewis's space trilogy was published in the 30s and 40s to critical acclaim, while Tolkien's time travel novel languished in the drafting stage. Lewis famously tied Numenor into the third volume of the space trilogy by writing that the magician Merlin's magic was derived from the island of Numenor, though Lewis misspelled it with an I. Tolkien never held up his end of the bargain, and the drafts of The Lost Road were not released until after his death. We know that Tolkien and Lewis had a falling out later in life, and that Tolkien was not too enthusiastic about the Narnia stories, which were published in the 50s. I believe that Lewis may have subtly tied his Narnia stories to Tolkien's Numenor by referring to Numenor by its more archetypal name, Atlantis. In The Magician's Nephew, the sinister Uncle Andrew uses a box of magic soil to create rings that allow the wearer to journey to other worlds. In The Magician's Nephew, Uncle Andrew states, "I knew enough even then to know that it wasn't Greek or Old Egyptian or Babylonian or Hittite or Chinese. It was older than any of those nations. The box was Atlantean. It came from the lost island of Atlantis. For in the very dawn of time, Atlantis was already a great city with palaces and temples and learned men." By using Uncle Andrew's magic rings made from Atlantean soil, Diggory and Polly discover a doorway to Narnia, thus beginning the adventures of the subsequent 6 books in the series. Just as Lewis's misspelled Numenor, whether by accident or on purpose, establishes a kind of secondary or mythic variant to the true Numenor, Tolkien's Numenor is also meant to be a mythic variant of the true sunken island, Atlantis. Perhaps by referencing Atlantis, Lewis, who knew Tolkien's opinion of the Narnia books, was still tying his fantasy world to the works of his dear friend, while keeping an appropriate distance between both fantasy series through a linguistic disguise. Perhaps it is a nod to a happier time when Lewis and Tolkien shared more of their work with one another, or perhaps it's an invitation for readers to make new stories of their own, connecting Narnia and Numenor in ways that neither Tolkien nor Lewis could have ever imagined.
Comment your thoughts on this theory, and be sure to check out a really insightful article on this topic by David Russell Mosley, published on Pathos in 2016. Thanks for watching, everybody.